Hello and welcome to Tracy Mommy Reads. I'm back again with another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about a book that I actually read. I'm trying to get the cover up. A book that I actually read, I want to say the latter part of last year, but because I had so many books already slotted, to talk about on the channel, I didn't get a chance to talk about it. So I'm going off my notes and my memory is being jogged. I did go through and, kind of reread the blurb and things are coming back to me. And now I'm realizing why I wanted to talk about this book because it was really good. The name of the book, let me see, pull this cover up for y'all. The name of the book is The Bartender by Brian O'Sullivan. The Bartender. Okay? And I'm going to just read the blurb because there's a lot of information in this blurb that's going to really key you in or clue you in to what this book is all about. So, first, I'm going to say this. There are so many different characters in this book. So many. And at some points, it was kind of hard to keep up with them. But then once I realized kind of what was going on, it was like, okay. But there are a lot of characters in the book that we get to know, because of the part that they play in what's going on. So let's start off with Olive. Olive is a gorgeous Los Angeles bartender, hence the title. On a random Monday, one of the best looking men she's ever seen walks into her bar and she's immediately smitten, right? The guy that walks in the bar, his name is Austin. Austin is tall and charismatic, but he's not after Olive for her beauty. He and his childhood friend have set a depraved plan into motion, okay? His childhood friend, her name is Becca. Becca is a grifter and con artist looking for her one big score. She's discovered that Olive's boss has hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash at his Pacific Palisades home, and Becca will stop at nothing to get it, even a murder. Let's step back a few things. Okay, so let's break things down here. First of all, with that last line about Becca stopping at nothing in even murder. There's a high body count of unalivings in this in this book. And people you won't even expect it to happen to them, right? That was the thing that kept me turning the pages because most of the chapters were like cliffhangers. You want to go to the next chapter. And then when someone who was seemingly a main character, something happens to them, you're like, okay, wait a minute. Now, how are we going to move forward, with the story? So the way that the author has the story set up, Becca and Austin, those are the grifter and the charismatic guy that Olive the bartender falls for. They were friends back in high school. Or should I say they were associates in high school. Well, Becca has some dirt on Austin that he does not want to come to light because they're from a small town and she saw something, right? And she has video of it. And she has taken this information now because like the blurb says, she's a grifter. They went their separate ways and she didn't really do much with the information. She was holding it until she felt like she would need him for something. And that's what happened after some little con that she was running for a while didn't work out. She, reached out to him and let him know, hey, I have this. And at first he was kind of like, whatever, girl. But then once he saw it, he realized the implications of what it could do to his life. He was like, okay, what do you want me to do? And that's when she starts telling him about this plan. But the author has some past tense, chapters giving us the details of what happened. It's not just, Becca saying this happened or whatever, and what the fallout in their small town was, after this particular thing happened. And how her and Austin even kind of got in each other's paths, when they were back in school because they're very different people. But then, you come to the present and you get to know Olive and how she's working at the bar and why she's working at the bar, or kind of her little backstory. And at one point, I think Austin, I don't think initially he thought Becca, even though she had that information and she had this plan in motion, which was obviously theft and it was just crazy or whatever. I don't know that he realized how psychotic she was, right? When he signed on for everything. And funny thing happens is that he actually ends up liking Olive. He feels bad at first because she really likes him, but then he starts to like her. But then he tries to be like an asshole, and I think he may have ghosted her a few times or something because he was really trying to get her to not want to be involved with him so that he could maybe tell Becca, she's immune to my charm. I can't do anything. Maybe get Olive out of, Becca's crosshairs. But the thing is, Becca was their in, right? Because it's her boss whose home they're planning on, robbing or whatever. And he's fond of Olive, and they have a close relationship. So Becca's like, get her to get you an invite to his house or something. And, that's kind of where they're going with this. They want to be able to, like have a legitimate reason for being there and, so that it doesn't have to get too out of control. But best laid plans, right? Things get hella out of control. And this is what I thought was crazy. It was all hearsay, and there was even people who were saying that it might even be an urban legend that he might not even have the amount of money, that he's claiming that he has. Because first of all, why are you bragging about it, right? It seems to me you would put yourself as a target. So they're just going on. Well, Becca is going on the notion that this is real because of the way the guy has all the security and all of these things. And that's what the problem was. They felt they couldn't get through the security. So they needed to actually be invited into the house. After this heist happens, normally in books or TV shows or movies like this, the heist is the end game. That's it's over. Once it's over, the people either get caught or you kind of find out what happens and it slowly fades to black. The story is over. Well, after this heist happens, I think it may be a little past midway. So there's quite a bit of story left, right? And that's when this former, police detective gets involved because Becca has left, behind some collateral damage, and now that person is on her trail. But again, she'll do anything not to be caught. She goes home for a while. Even her parents, because of something that happened when she was younger, they're like a little afraid of her and kind of leery and don't even want her around. They're like, what are you doing here? And she's trying to lay low because of what happened after the robbery. And then that detective, he gets on her trail. So she moves to another place where he tracks her down. And then midway, you're kind of wondering, is he tracking her down trying to help out, Olive? Or is he doing something else? Is he after the money? Everybody was just suspicious and agendas kept changing. And Becca, I will tell you this, she cannot leave well enough alone. She just cannot leave well enough alone. And instead of her just following the plan that she had after that whole thing was over, she's backtracking and putting herself, in a precarious situation as people who want revenge and law enforcement and others close in on her. Because, I just don't understand why she would have done that. But it was such a wild ride and not even close to where I thought it was going. Because I initially thought, even just from reading the blurb and when it first, the book first kind of opened or whatever, was that they were maybe going to try to recruit Olive to help rob her boss or whatever. And that it was going to be kind of like a heist or caper field story. But Becca is really just, she was selfish as hell. It was always just about her, and she didn't care about anybody else at all. But what goes around comes around, and that's all I'm going to say about karma and what ultimately happens with this story. Okay, I can definitely see this as a series. Oh my God, it will be so good as a series because of all the moving parts, the different characters, the different locations, and everything like that. So, if you love like fast-paced stories with a little bit of suspense that's kind of nail-biting, that gives you backstory and you kind of understand how characters came to be. If you love the cat and mouse situation, if you love people, villains and femme fatales who stand on business, all of those things, but also if you love to see people get their comeuppance for the things that they do, then I think that you are going to thoroughly enjoy The Bartender by Brian O'Sullivan. And look at that martini glass. Isn't that cool? It looks like a gun, like on the stem or whatever. Yeah, I will say that, I love a good book with a badass, heroine, a femme fatale and a woman who does stand on business. I love that too. But Becca was on another level. She was a bit too psychotic for my taste because she didn't delineate between good and bad or innocent and guilty. Like, you're in my way, I'm gonna have to move you. And it doesn't matter why you're there and who you are. So I felt like it was just lying too far. And again, because what was it all for in the end? Okay. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Oh my God, I'm going to end this rambling. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you like this video. And if you have not already taken the opportunity, go ahead and do it now. Subscribe to my channel, turn on those post notification bells. We're just getting started. There are so many more videos, reviews, rants, raves coming your way this year. Thanks again for watching. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye.